serving all of San Diego. This is your Fox 5 Morning News.
Finding beauty around the world, a closer look at how trends from thousands of miles away are actually gaining popularity right here at home.
This morning we're talking about beauty all over the world, and joining us this morning is board-certified plastic surgeon Dr. Vince Marin. He's here to talk about the trends that we're seeing really all over the world and here in the United States, right? So overall, can you generally say what we're seeing, or is it really different from region to region what we're seeing?
There are some similarities, but I think in the end there are definitely differences. I think when we look at today's beauty, we're starting to incorporate other things from other cultures that are becoming kind of somewhat of a standard. So we're seeing some of the South American influence in the United States, some of the Asian influences back and forth, but I still think they're very distinct roles of beauty.
Okay, let's start first with Asia. There's a plastic surgery sort of craze that's going on in South Korea. Tell me about this.
Well, it's funny. They're trying, I think it's more of some kind of pop culture phenomenon that's going on. They're trying to have more of a Western look, especially in the face. It's something called K-pop. I'm not terribly familiar with what's going on, but I think it's become a cultural phenomenon. 1 in 5 women in South Korea are having plastic surgery versus the United States, which is normally kind of the center of that, is 1 in 20. So what you also see, and I think we showed some of the pictures, there's a calf reduction is what they're trying to do.
Slimming your calves.
Yeah, and traditionally Asians have a thicker muscle in that area, so it's not necessarily fat. If it is fat, you can do liposuction, you can contour the calf and make it a little bit more attractive. If it's muscle, there's been some reports people are going in there injecting Botox to make the muscle atrophy and go away, or actually go in there and shave that muscle down, which I think is a very dangerous technique. So we don't do it here in the United States, but it's interesting what people will do for beauty.
There's a reason probably we don't do it here in the United States,
exactly.
huh? Okay, let's go now to Brazil.
Yep.
Where the whole Brazilian fanny lift craze started. And tell us, if you will, a little bit about what we're seeing. I guess that's still a popular procedure for people.
You know, it is, and especially in South American countries, there is more of kind of a gluteal aesthetic, that fuller, rounder rear end. And I think, you know, especially in Brazil, they spend so much time in a bikini. That's become a focal point, and what you can do with this Brazilian butt lift is they're actually taking fat, so you get the benefit of liposuction and then injecting it into the rear end. Some of the women that are really thin, they use implants to do that as well. There's benefits and negatives to both, but you don't see it as much here in the United States, but in South America it's almost commonplace to see women walking around with just, you know, a disproportionately large rear end. So it hasn't caught on here.
That very well.
Well, thank you.
I was afraid you were going to say junk in the trunk or something like that. I wasn't quite sure where you were going.
Still trying to keep it professional here today if we can.
Glad you're professional. Okay, let's talk about Europe, where the craze is anti-cellulite. Everybody wants to get rid of that, right?
Yeah, it's just, I think it's a common thing with every woman, but for some reason it has a lot of popularity in Europe. Cellulite's a natural phenomenon, just the way the skin is connected to the underlying tissues. The issues is that you really can't do much in terms of the injections or creams, or there's treatments called endermology that are actually kind of stretching that tissue and trying to change it.
This video right here is actually of a new European shapewear line that's supposed to cut, they claim it cuts your cellulite. Probably just cuts off your circulation.
Well, you know what happens? It ends up causing some swelling in the tissues. It's temporarily camouflaged, but with a little bit of time, it'll come back. There's actually something we have in the United States called Cellulase,
I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah, it's a laser-based technology that's both liposuction for the areas that are full, but there's kind of a forked little laser prong that cuts internally those little connections that cause the outside appearance of cellulite on the outer thigh or rear end. And so you can actually go in there and cut those. You can see even in the segment here as it cuts through, that releases it, and that changes that external appearance. It's a very technically challenging procedure in terms of it's very time consuming, but in some of the initial studies and reports, they've actually showed good results with that.
Does it hurt?
It's like a liposuction procedure, so you're doing it under either a general or a local anesthetic with sedation. So it's not something you just kind of come in and have done externally on your skin.
Yeah, and definitely in the U.S. we're still seeing everybody wants to have a bigger chest, all the ladies, and basically fat-free bodies. Yeah,
it's funny, we have more of a thin, athletic kind of aesthetic, and I think what happens in that, a lot of women are wanting to do their kind of weight reduction with respect to that through diet and exercise, which I think is a good thing and healthy, and women here in the United States are very motivated. The one thing is they do lose breast volume at the same time.
Right.
So when you're doing that, this is the one way in which you can get that athletic figure. You can still have that toned muscular body, you know, in a feminine way, but as a result you lose the breast tissue. The way to counteract that is doing a breast augmentation.
Okay, Dr. Vince Marin, thank you for being here.
My
As
pleasure.
always, let's put your information up. You can contact Dr. Vince Marin at Marin Aesthetics. They are located in Del Mar, and for more information, all you have to do is go to our website, fox5sandiego.com. Click on that Scene On tab.